These new details change everything for the Thunder now that the playoffs have arrived, and it's very positive news coming in from Memphis, Tennessee. After eliminating the Dallas Mavericks in the play-in, the Grizzlies claimed the West 8 seed to take on the Thunder in round 1, and they might have done OKC a big favor, which we're going to get right into. I'm Gabe Ebersole here with Thunder Digest, and before we get into how this 68-win Thunder team is going to try to ice off a historical season with a title, first we have to point out that 68% of you watching this aren't subscribed. You want to hear Thunder news, get Thunder content, and we're here to provide Thunder content. Seems like a match made in heaven. Let's get right into how this play-in is going to play a vital role in OKC's path through a domino effect in the rest of the playoff rounds. Now, first off, let's just take a look at the playoff bracket. We see OKC at the 1, we see Memphis at the 8. But how did we get here? The first way we got here was the 7-8 game, which the Grizzlies lost. They lost this game to the Golden State Warriors, which was a huge break for the Thunder. Why is this a huge break for the Thunder? We've played the Warriors 3 times this season, and we lost 2 and won 1 of them. For a team that's 68-14, avoiding a team that you had a losing record against in the regular season is automatically a win. But especially when you look at how this happened. We're talking about a team that Steph Curry only played in 2 of those games, and those were their 2 wins. And in the game he didn't play, they narrowly lost by 4 points. In the games that Curry played, he clipped over 50% threes in both of them and on 11 and a half attempts a game. This dude was letting it fly, and he was getting results. On the other hand, for the Thunder, we were kind of struggling against them. Shai averaged 37 against them, including a 52 or a 54-point game in a loss that we had. But not only that, he was held under 50% from the field, which for him, he's efficiency is his thing. And he was under his average for assists. He was really struggling to kind of just be the offensive engine that we've grown accustomed to seeing. Now, how did the Grizzlies get into that 8 spot? They beat the Dallas Mavericks in the second round game for the play-in. Beating the Mavericks also very much helped out the Thunder. The Mavericks were 3-1 against the Thunder this year, and I'm sure many people are thinking that Luka had something to do with that, but Luka only played in 1 game for the Mavericks against the Thunder this year, and he has 16 points, and they won. We have struggled against this team, especially in shooting. We have only had 3 players that were shooting above 50% in the games against the Mavericks. We were really struggling to get quality shots, and then whenever we were getting them, to knock them down against Dallas. And that was also a team we lost to last year in the playoffs. In conclusion, avoiding this team in the first round is a very positive light for the Thunder. Now, let's look at what they're going to do whenever they go and they play the Memphis Grizzlies now. The Grizzlies, they played 4 times this year, and they swept them all. They swept all 4 games. And not only did they sweep these 4 games, they were not close games in particular. These were blowout games that couldn't have been changed with a play here or a play there. The Thunder outplayed this Grizzlies team for 48 minutes 4 straight times this season. We averaged 125 points. Memphis only cracked 110 points 1 time the entire season we played them. And you might ask, what played into this? Well, let's take a look at their star players. We're looking at Ja Morant, we're looking at Desmond Bane, and we're looking at Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. These are the driving forces of the Grizzlies team that we're set to face tomorrow as the first game of the series in the playoffs. And these 3 players were very, very limited when they played the Thunder in the regular season. Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. shot 34, 35, and 36% respectively. Bane, a 3-point shooter, was held under 30% on threes. And Jaren Jackson Jr., a defender, had a bad knack of getting into foul trouble when we played them. They were really set to crumble underneath a lot of the things that we were putting on because their star players weren't playing at the top, and then it just folded down the roster. On the flip side for us, we have played very, very well against the Grizzlies. We have 7 players who average double figures against the Grizzlies this year. We've had a number of role players that were stepping up and playing great games off the bench, but that didn't even take away from our stars. Our star, main guy, let's start with Shai from the top. He averaged 2.5 less minutes than he normally played in the season, and he was averaging 37 points a game against the Grizzlies this year. Also, while averaging more assists than he averages normally. He's averaging over 7 assists against the Grizzlies. He was finding the shots. He was getting the looks he liked to make the reads that he wanted, and the offense flows when we play the Grizzlies. The difference in playing in an early series against the Memphis Grizzlies versus a team like the Warriors cannot be stated the drastic importance. Why? Getting role players into rhythm, knocking it down. A.J. Mitchell just returned from injury, getting him, hopefully, he's shot over 40% from 3 in the regular season. getting his shot back is going to be big. J-Dub, he shot 17% against the Grizzlies from 3 in the regular season, and we were still winning. Now we need him to hit these looks and get into rhythm for the rest of the playoff run. And we need guys like Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, guys who are going to be vital off the bench in this run to get into rhythm now, like early in the playoffs. So then whenever it comes later in the playoffs and they're not getting as many minutes when these games are closer, they can come in and make an impact and be warm, and they're not feeling like, oh, I haven't shot a basketball in a month in a game situation. They're going to come in against the Grizzlies, and they've shot well against the Grizzlies in the past. They're going to get good looks against the Grizzlies, that we know. The bench has averaged 39 points a game against the Grizzlies in these things, to a tune of a plus 102 plus minus across 4 games. They shot 46.6% from 3 in these games against the Grizzlies. Our bench is primed to be a very big X factor in this game. Now, when we look at what differences they might take into it, a very big factor needs to be noted, and that is the fact that the Grizzlies have had a head coaching change just 9 games ago, is when they got Tuasuma Ilasolo. Excuse me on the pronunciation of the name. Isalo is the last name. We'll go with Isalo. And he has helped this team round back into a little bit better of a form. This Grizzlies team, they do have a lot of sound, good parts to their game. They are the second highest scoring offense. They're a top 3 rebounding team. This is in their top 5 actually in net differential for points in the year. They can play good basketball, but what was killing them a lot of this year is they were bottom 3 in both fouls and turnovers. So there are a lot of just coaching unforced between the whistles things. And since they brought in their new coach, they've cut back on turnovers, they've cut back on fouls. They've only won 4 of those 9 games, so they are 4-5 in that stretch. But these little mistakes, as they keep knocking them down, they might be able to pull closer to us. And the Thunder are a team that thrives off things like turnover differential, steals, points off in transition off turnovers. This is what we're going to have to do, and we're going to have to step on them and force them to make mistakes the same way in the playoffs that we did in the regular season, regardless of this. Now, we look at what Mark Daigneault had to say about their coaching change. He noted it, and he said, when there's a coaching change that late in the season, you're not going to see a wholesale change. The biggest change is allocation. They aren't changing what they're doing. They're doing more of some things and less of others, playing some guys more and some guys less than they were early in the season. So based off of what Mark Daigneault just said, we should just be able to make micro adjustments to what our game plan was against them in the regular season and correct a lot of the different adjustments that they have made, and we just counter adjust them, and we should be okay. He's not super sweating over this first game series, and neither is the national media. I saw today that we are minus 13 favorites for the first game, plus 150 to sweep the series, and minus 4,000 to win the series. The Thunder are expected to win this series against the Grizzlies in a way that they might not have been if the play-in didn't fall the way that it did. So, in conclusion, the Thunder's postseason run may be aided by the way that the play-in fell and their first-round matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies. The first game of the series is going to be tomorrow on Sunday, and hopefully we'll be able to pull out a win and get a good reaction and start the playoffs off on a hot note. I'm Gabriel Ebersole with Thunder Digest, and it has been great talking to you guys today. I'll see you in the next one.